So in this question, it asks you to complete the following table. This table asks about the protons, neutrons, electrons, and the mass number. I have a very small periodic table on the side so that we can look at things. So our first one is neon 22. This number right here, that's the mass number. So we're just going to write that down. The mass number is not the average atomic mass. It is the mass number, which is the sum of the protons plus neutrons. And so for our first one, which I am going to highlight red, I'm going to find neon over here on my periodic table, which is right here. Neon is element 10. Because it is element 10, that means it has, and it's neutral, 10 protons, 10 electrons, and the number of neutrons is the mass number minus the protons. So that's going to give me 12. Let's look at the next one, which we're going to highlight blue. So for our 231 uranium, I'm going to find that on my periodic table. Uranium is a really large element. It's in the lanthanides and actinides series way down here at the bottom. So by finding that, we know that this neutral element has 92 protons and 92 electrons. Based on the table, we know that it has 231 as a mass number. 231 minus 92 is 139. So let's look at 182 tungsten. So we're going to use green this time. Tungsten is probably my favorite element for no good reason. So it's element 74. So once we do this, we know that it is 74 here, 74 here. Once we do that, we can then, and it's 182 from our calculation, from the question at the top, 182 minus 74 is 108. So on the exam, it always asks you to show your work. There's not a lot of work to be shown here. You'll notice that I'm just filling out the table. So for our next element, we know that it is 192. We know that it's element 78. Why do we know that? Well, we know that it has 78 electrons. The mass, the number on the periodic table tells you how many electrons and how many protons the neutral atom has. So we have 78. Oops, sorry for the jiggle. And so we are looking for element 78, which we can find right here, which is platinum. And so we also know that 192 minus 78 is going to give us 114 neutrons. So this is a pretty simple calculation, but let's look at some ions. So we have rubidium, which is right here. And so we know that rubidium has 37 protons because you cannot, under any circumstances, change the number of protons. We also know that it has a mass number of 85. So to calculate the number of neutrons, it is 85 minus 37, which is 48. However, this element is positive, and this positive thing is going to have lost an electron. So instead of having 37 electrons, it will have 36 electrons. Not last, but our next one is silicon, which I'm going to highlight yellow, which is way over here. So we know that silicon has 14 protons. We know it has a mass number of 29. 29 minus 14 is 10. Nope, it's 15. And so the question is, how many electrons are in silicon 4 plus? Well, in order to become the 4 plus ion, it is going to have lost 4 electrons. So it will now be 10. On this table, the things that you need to remember are that the mass number is not the atomic mass. It is the number that you see in your isotope. And that the neutrons is the mass number minus protons, or protons plus neutrons gives you mass number.